Services for Leonardo's online merchandising group, and I will be your host for today's special event. We're really excited to share with you valuable insights about how to integrate guest reviews into your marketing strategy and how you can leverage this type of user-generated content, or UGC, to assure travelers that you're the right property for them. And I am just resuming. There we go. Our video is in sync with our audio now. So welcome to everyone around the globe. As we were waiting for the webinar to start, I could see that many of you are situated around the world. So thank you everyone for joining us. And to those for whom it's very early in the morning or late at night, a special thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. First, we're going to be recording our webinar, and at the conclusion of today's session, we'll be sending you a thank you for joining us email with a link to that recording, which you can share or listen to again at your leisure. Additionally, and I see some of you have already found it, you have a questions dialog box in your GoToMeeting panel. And as we move through our discussion today, please feel free to send in your questions, and we'll address them throughout our webinar as well as at the end of the presentation. We're also going to be tweeting during today's discussion, so please feel free to join in the conversation at #LeoWebinar. And before we get started with the formal part of our presentation, I'd like to launch a poll, as we do often at the beginning of our webinars, because we want to get a sense of what the audience is looking to learn. And so I've just launched the poll, and the question is, what do you want to learn more about during today's discussion? Do you want to learn how to motivate your guests to leave reviews? Do you want to understand why reviews impact social media? Would you like to know more about how to use reviews to strengthen your marketing efforts? Leveraging reviews to tell your story? Or, as I suspect many of you are going to select, all of the above, because I think all of those topics are actually pretty important. So I'm going to give everyone a couple more seconds to weigh in on the responses. And right now, it looks like all of the above is the clear winner, followed by motivating your guests to leave reviews and how to use reviews to strengthen your marketing efforts. So the majority of you have weighed in. Thank you very much. That's very helpful information. And we're going to continue with our formal presentation. First, I'd like to introduce a special guest speaker, Brian Payea. Brian is the head of industry relations for TripAdvisor and is responsible for global educational and policy outreach to the travel industry. He focuses on strengthening the ties between TripAdvisor and the hospitality community, and his department builds tools for hotel brand management, hoteliers, and other hospitality professionals to leverage the insights available from the wealth of traveler-contributed information on TripAdvisor and other social media. Brian has more than 30 years of experience in communications and marketing leadership and is a member of the HSMAI Americas Board, as well as the HSMAI Foundation Board and the Lodging Industry Ratings Advisory Council at AHLA. Busy guy, Brian. He's also a frequent speaker on the subject of social media and travel at industry events around the world. Brian joined TripAdvisor in 2006. Previously, he led public relations, marketing, government relations, and investor relations at several technology and internet companies. Thanks so much for joining us today, Brian. I'd also like to welcome Adele Gutman, who has appeared with us before on our webinar series. Adele has more than 30 years of experience in hospitality marketing. Adele oversees sales, marketing, revenue management, public relations, and new hotel concept strategies and launches at the Library Hotel Collection, including brand initiatives, online marketing efforts, social media, electronic distribution, and most importantly, the unique Library Hotel Collection guest experience, which makes success in all the other areas possible. Adele has written articles and has been a speaker at TripAdvisor's masterclasses, various webinars, conferences, and luncheons, as well as the HSMAI Digital Marketing Conference. Adele orchestrated initiatives that resulted in the ranking of all 4 library hotel collection properties into the top 4 spots in New York on TripAdvisor, an achievement still unmatched by any other hotel group. Adele currently serves on the TripAdvisor Industry Leadership Council and the HSMAI Digital Marketing Council, as well as the Greater New York Chapter Advisory Board. Adele has won numerous awards, including being recognized as one of HSMAI's 2013 Top 25 Most Extraordinary Minds in Sales and Marketing. Adele is a graduate of the Conrad Hilton College of Hotel and Restaurant Management, University of Houston. Also, welcome, Adele. We're very happy to have you.
Delighted to be with you.
Thanks, Adele. Before our speakers begin, I'd like to share some important points just to set the stage a little. Overwhelmingly, people will trust recommendations from people they know and secondarily from strangers because neither of these groups have an ulterior motive. You see, they're really not trying to sell us something. More than half of respondents to a recent Focusrite study said they wouldn't book a hotel without checking out the review. And that raises the question, are you making the most of your online reviews and using them to drive more bookings? And these are things that we're going to talk about today with Brian and Adele. And so now I'd like to bring Brian back, and I'm going to, Brian, make you the presenter, and you'll have control of the board in just a second.
Excellent. Thanks, Arlene, and thanks to everyone who's joining us today, and thanks to my co-presenter, Adele. Happy to be here. Actually, Darlene, you just switched it over to me showing my screen.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Is that what we want to do?
No, that's not what we want to do.
Okay.
Hang on, everybody. Bear with us. We are going to do this.
While we're taking advantage of a little lull here, I know a few of the slides that we're going to start with are going to talk about the history of TripAdvisor, and we're celebrating our 15th birthday this year. We were started way back in 2000 above a little pizza shop not far from where I'm sitting right now in suburban Boston. But we have grown from then to be the world's largest travel company of any kind. And I think what we're talking about when we talk about that tremendous growth is, as Darlene showed in her statistics, just how important reviews have become to travel planners around the world. We now have more than 340 million unique visitors coming to the site every month. We have 225 million reviews and opinions on the site. Every minute of every day, we get 139 new pieces of information added to the site. So I think I may have control. Let's see.
One moment. Give keyboard and mouse. You should have it now, Brian.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. So what we're going to talk about today is what does drive traveler engagement? Why is TripAdvisor the world's largest travel site? Why are so many people there, and how can you take advantage of it? Here's a photo of that pizza shop. It was those series of windows up there above the very fragrant restaurant down below, and now we're completing our world headquarters site right near here, where almost 3,000 of us can call home. And as I said, 340 million uniques and 78 million people have actually joined the community. And I think that community effect is something that has a big impact on the difference between TripAdvisor and other sources of reviews. The people who have actually joined the community have a real strong affiliation to the information and to the other travelers that they are sharing information with. So when we ask what does drive traveler engagement, there are a lot of things contributing. But some recent research that we did saw some very clear correlations, and these are in order of importance. Number one, the number of photos. So when we talk about the engagement level, what we're talking about is how much time a traveler will spend on your listing. That level of engagement is indicative of how likely they are to become your guest, to click through on one of the booking options on your page. So we want to maximize the amount of engagement, the amount of time. And as this research shows, the number of photos has a huge impact on it. The more photos, the better the photos, the more impactful the photos, the more time travelers are going to spend, and therefore that engagement can transfer. Very importantly, of course, being TripAdvisor, the number of reviews is also important. That total number, very important. But you see the last one, if we jump ahead, the number of reviews in the past year is very important. So the recency of reviews is important. One of the reasons I believe TripAdvisor grew so quickly was because travelers became accustomed to getting the latest, most recent, up-to-date information about where they were going by looking at TripAdvisor compared to the old sources of guidebooks and things back when we were founded. And you see that other very important correlation is to management responses in the past year. Travelers want to hear your side of the story as the managers, as the owners of those properties. How are you responding to the guest feedback? And travelers are putting themselves in the shoes of the travelers whose reviews you're responding to. As I mentioned, photos are absolutely essential. And to drill down a little bit further, we see that adding photos on the property page results in 138% more engagement from travelers. There actually are properties out there without any photos, and you're guaranteed to have lower engagement if that's the case. So absolutely add at least some photos, but the quantity, of course, is important. A 225% increase in the likelihood of booking if you add at least one photo. And properties with more than 100 photos see an increase of 151% in the level of engagement. So the amount of time people are spending on your page trying to determine whether it's the perfect fit for them. So you absolutely want to maximize the photo impact. Recently, TripAdvisor, because of this strong interest in photos, acquired Oyster, which has been going out and taking professional photos of properties so that we can ensure we have as many photos as possible. But every one of you as business owners and business managers have the option to add as many photos as you want to your page. Make sure you're keeping them fresh. Make sure you've got information about the latest things that have happened on your property because of that strong correlation to the level of engagement. And you'll see we've added them in a lot of different formats on the site and given travelers ways to sort and see what's most important to them. Tell your whole story. Make sure that you're showing all the aspects of your property because that's what travelers are really motivated by. Back in 2014, we changed the way we put photos on the site. And if you've got a high quality, high resolution photo that meets our standards, which are all detailed on the Owner Center, which I'm hoping all of you are accessing. The Management Center is accessed at tripadvisor.com/owners if you haven't already gone there. But at that location, you can manage which photo gets this primary location. The one we see at this hotel in Amsterdam, you see is an impressive photo that bleeds all the way across the page, has a big impact. When we tested this, we again saw a big impact in the amount of engagement, the likelihood that a traveler is going to stop and investigate. So make sure that you're choosing a photo that has a good impact here. If you try and upload a photo that does not meet the requirements of this placement, we won't publish it. It has to have the right aspect ratio, the right size, and the right resolution. So make sure that you're providing that kind of information because it is so important to travelers. Now, of course,
Brian?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions from the audience coming in, and it's really a basic question, I think, one from Sanjay and one from Jamie, very similar. They want to understand how TripAdvisor ranks hotels. Is it by
Great
number of
question.
reviews? Is it by number of positive reviews? What's the criteria?
Sure. So, when we were looking at those things that impact engagement, very similar criteria that impact the ranking. We do not disclose all of the details of our popularity ranking because, as you're probably all aware in the business, there are a lot of people who are telling you they can help you get around this calculation, so we don't give them a roadmap. But it is pretty simple. Since we know what's important to travelers, we give the recent reviews more weight in the calculation than older reviews. So recency is very important. And of course, quality. So a 5-bubble review is going to help your popularity ranking more than a 2-bubble review. So guest satisfaction, very important. And then the quantity is the third element. So recency, quality, and quantity. But, I've talked to a lot of properties that are concerned because they see they have overall, historically, over the 15 years we've been here, a lot more reviews than properties that are higher up. Use the resources in your management center to compare yourself to your competitors and look at the recent months and see who's getting more reviews, and that'll give a good indication. So quality, quantity, and very importantly, recency. Any more questions, Darlene? Shall we move ahead?
Yeah, please move ahead. We do have a lot of questions coming in, but we'll address them as we go.
That's great. Happy to hang around as long as we can. So the power of reviews, of course, we just had a great intro with that question. Reviews are so important to the travelers, and of course they're important to the businesses. Here's a Focusrite research study where 89% of travelers said that reviews were influential, and 96% of those in the hotel business said they were important. So we see that everyone's gotten the message, but then we always are asked, well, how important are they? How do they affect the business? And Chris Anderson at the Center for Hospitality Research at Cornell University is doing a lot of research, and one of his early studies said that if you can increase the level of satisfaction on the 5-point TripAdvisor scale by 1 point, you can increase the ADR at your property without seeing a decrease in occupancy. So getting more revenue and not having it impact the occupancy level, because people are willing to pay more for a room with a higher satisfaction rating. NYU professors have done research that came to a similar conclusion in a different way and said that if prices are the same, users are 3.9 times more likely to choose a hotel with the higher review score. And when hotel prices are increased, travelers are still likely to book, and 76% of customers are willing to pay more for hotels with a higher review score. So all the research seems to point in the same direction about how important reviews are and the impact they have on the financial performance of the property. Now, I would say that after photos, after getting those new reviews, management responses are one of the most impactful ways for you to have a difference in the traveler perception when they're doing their research. Another piece of Focusrite research said 77% of travelers said seeing the management response makes them believe the hotel cares more about its guests, and 87% said that an appropriate management response to a bad review improves the impression of the hotel. I want to point out that those 1-bubble reviews, the terrible rating that nobody wants to see, only represent 5% of the total on TripAdvisor. The average score on TripAdvisor is 4.12, so it is overall a very positive environment. So you have a lot of reasons to take advantage of it and join in the conversation. And we also see there's a big correlation between the average review rating and the number of management responses. So you could argue that a well-run hotel is going to get better scores and do the management responses. There's a lot of additional discussion on this topic, but you can't deny the numbers. At 65%, properties that respond to 65% of their reviews have the highest score in average of 4.15 compared to 3.81 for those that don't do any management responses. So it really has become part of the equation for a well-managed hotel. And we also see a big correlation between management responses and booking inquiries, so that a hotel that provides management responses are 21% more likely to receive a booking inquiry. When we see travelers leave TripAdvisor by clicking on one of the links to go over and book at the property or at their booking partner, 21% increase if the property is doing management responses. So very important. Yes.
Here's a question directly related to that from Ayaz, and they want to know, how do you define management? Who at the property do you consider part of management?
So that's really up to the property, and it varies dramatically based on the type of property and what the management structure is. At a really big property, they may have somebody who's dedicated to guest service and just answering social media, including these. At other smaller properties, it's the owner, it's whoever's running it. You can have as many people as you want have access to your management center resources and be aware of new reviews and be able to write the management responses. It's up to you internally to determine whose responsibility it is and who you're going to allow to do it. You can always go in and replace old management responses if the old ones don't meet up to your standards, but it really is up to you. There is a verification process. You can tell us if somebody should not have access, but if you've got the whole staff plugged in, everyone's got access, then it's up to you who's management.
Okay, great. And Cindy, along with several other people, are asking functional questions of how to change photos, in particular with Oyster, how to add, delete. Who would you direct them to have those questions answered?
So the best resource is TripAdvisor Insights. If you go to tripadvisor.com/TripAdvisor Insights, it's a searchable portal of how-to guides and answers to almost all those questions. If you type in Oyster Photos, you'll get fact sheets on how to manage Oyster Photos and how to communicate with TripAdvisor on those topics. They're all in the Management Center.
Great, thank you.
Great. So I think we have a few more slides here. There are lots of resources on management responses. They're such an impactful part of your equation. I would recommend looking into the research. Here are some of the top recommendations that we make. I think Adele is probably going to talk to some of this as well because she does a great job with these. But, you know, it's all about being a great hospitality professional, taking advantage of these. And if you go into, again, TripAdvisor Insights, there are all sorts of resources on how to do this, including on-demand recorded events that you can go through. This topic in and of itself deserves hours of discussion. And as I said, if you get it wrong the first time, this is your content, and you can replace it with new content when you want. One last topic is Review Express. I've been talking about how important getting reviews are because travelers prioritize fresh new content. We've built a resource called Review Express that automates the process of asking for a review and providing a direct link to your own write a review page, taking all the search and hunt and peck out of that process and making it a much more efficient process. It's a great way to get more reviews, and a lot of properties that have used this have seen a big impact in their number of reviews and the corresponding increase in their popularity ranking by having new, fresh content. It is a free resource and is available in the Management Center as well.
That's excellent information, because I know that in our poll question at the top of the presentation, that was one of the more popular things that people wanted to learn about. So great to end on that note. So just to recap Brian's presentation, the 4 top factors that increase the time travelers spend on accommodation pages are number of photos, the total number of reviews, management responses, and the recency of the review, or reviews that have been posted during the last 12 months. And in the past 15 years, since online user-generated content has hit the scene, we've seen it go from a novelty to a critical part of the hotel shopper's booking decision. So this stuff is really important. And one of the things that really struck me from Brian's presentation was that if prices are identical, which is often the case, reviews are going to make all the difference in the world when it comes to the hotel shopper choosing you. So that piece of information to me is a real gem. So thanks, Brian, very much. We have zillions of questions coming in from the audience, so we'll try and get to as many of them as possible. Adele, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to welcome Adele to the stage now. And what I love about the two presentations from our speakers today is that, you know, Brian has presented sort of the TripAdvisor strategic view of how to manage user-generated content. And Adele is going to really make it real for us and talk to us about her experience at the, in fact, her wildly successful experience at the Library Hotel Collection. So Adele, over to you. And Adele, you're unmuted, so there you go. Folks, I think we're having an audio issue, so let's just give it a minute.
We can be listed on the top of a list in TripAdvisor, which is absolutely the most powerful travel website with over 340 million visitors. It is an incredible billboard for us, and we don't have to pay for that billboard. We just have to earn it every day. So as soon as we really caught on about 12 or 13 years ago, shot into the top 7. We were at number 3 one time on TripAdvisor so many years ago, and the general manager of the Hotel Giraffe says, well, I highly recommend being in the top 7 because every time we're on the first page for TripAdvisor of hotels in New York, our phones would start ringing off the hook. It's the best advertisement. So that is when the light bulb went off for us, and we said, now this is a marketing plan we can afford. All we have to do is take great care of our guests. So this is how we started. First, we got all of our managers around in a room and said, okay, let's read all these reviews and let's look at everything that is a problem for a lot of people and really let go of our barriers and look for how we can impact them. If we cannot 100% solve a problem, for example, the Casablanca Hotel is in Times Square, it could have some, there can be some noise and excitement. I mean, this is the crossroads of the world, but let's see how we can chip away at any of the sound issues so that everyone gets a wonderful night's sleep. So that's what we did, and we also thought about all the wonderful things that people were saying about us and then said, now how can we double up on that? How can we get that to happen consistently throughout all of our hotels? So now at all of our hotels, every single employee in the hotel is reminded every day, because it's our constant daily conversation, how can we do better? How can we sparkle sunshine on every guest? And how can, every time we look a guest in the eye, how can we lift their spirits and make them feel good and welcome and cared for and respected? How can we solve their problem? How can we find out what pleases them? And how can we resolve quickly any issues that come up during their stay? And we try to take care of them before they walk out the door. Next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
So people might say, oh, you know, I don't know where to begin. I don't know what is my story about the hotel. What is it that I should be, that I should be focusing on? The easiest way of knowing what is uh, the right story for you is see what people are already saying. You know, if you have, let's say, 70% of your people are giving you rave reviews and 30% are giving you, you know, either mediocre reviews or perhaps they're not reviewing you at all, then you have to say, how can I take all these little comments and make sure that this is exactly what 100% of my people are saying? How can I make this consistent for every single guest? How can I do all these little extra things during the day? You know, if you have these little magic moments upon their first email from the hotel quoting the rates, or from the arrival, from the conversation with the concierge, every single little time that you have a guest walk into an elevator and the housekeeper looks them in the eye and says, "Good morning, how are you?" Every single touch point creates it colors their entire stay and makes them feel that they got a great value. So find your story in the things that people are saying already, and then just increase that. Next slide,
That's
please.
really good advice, Adele. We often hear from folks as we are implementing our digital marketing system for hotels. You know, they struggle, particularly limited service hotels. They often struggle and say to us, you know, easy for a hotel like the Library Collection to create a story because they have a lot to work with. It's harder if I'm a small limited service hotel on the side of the road, you know
what?
To create my story. Yeah.
It's a great point, because you can actually give great service at any price point, because a smile and a caring conversation and let me see what I can do for you, that can happen at any level. You know, courtesy and kindness and respect can be delivered in any any truck
Sure.
stop.
Yeah.
You have to be the best hotel that you are. And I remember when my mother was in real estate, she always said, the people who can look at a house that is what they can afford, and it's nice and clean and fresh and sparkling and pleasant, they ooh and ah just as much as a multimillionaire is going to ooh and ah about a mansion. So you can be fabulous at any price point and at any star point. And you know what? You have an opportunity when you're dealing with people who cannot afford as much to really make their vacation. They really need a vacation that they feel great about and comfort that they feel great about. You really have an opportunity to bring a really meaningful experience that they'll always remember. They'll appreciate it more than anyone.
Mhm. And you know, I am going to make reference to Mom's advice in future. I think that's a really good analogy. No, it really is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, so we also listen, of course, very closely to the comments that people have. And you know what? It's very difficult when you care about your hotel and you feel very emotionally invested in your hotel to hear somebody having a complaint. But you have to just step out of it for a moment and take your feelings away from it and just say, if I could go back in time, is there anything more I could have done? Sometimes it's not, you're not changing the size of the bed, for example, but you just need to include the information about it more clearly so that they know what they're getting. People, if they are told up front and their expectations are in keeping with what they enjoy at the property, that really helps. So we also just try to say, okay, what they're saying let's say it's unfair. Let's say, how can they possibly say such a thing? But really, if we went back in time, is there anything we could have done differently knowing that this was going to be the response? And then we adapt the response in the future to that. And you know what? When people, sometimes we have had the 1-star or 2-star review, and when that happens and we say, these are the things that we're going to do to change the situation for the future. We've had people say, I was going to book another hotel. Actually, I already did book another hotel, but I just canceled my reservation at the other hotel and booked with you, not because of your good reviews, but because of the way you handled a negative review. So it absolutely can be done if you're remembering to be kind and generous and put the guest first. Next slide,
A couple
please.
of questions for you,
Sure.
Adele. The first one is from Melinda. She wants some guidance on how to facilitate review of the reviews with the management team. How do you guys go about doing that? How do you collect them all and then discuss them? Is it a weekly thing?
In the very beginning, we gathered everybody around the table and we really presented the importance of the billboard effect, as you might call it, of being on the top of TripAdvisor. We also reviewed that if we make 100% of our guests happy, and they're just telling their friends and family offline, and they're coming to us again, this is a great form of marketing, and it's so important to our financial health of our company, and that this is what we should be focusing on, even if reviews didn't exist. So we said, you know what? We're good people. We want to do the right thing, and we didn't come to work every day saying I want to be average and I want to just adequately meet people's needs. I'm just going to check people in by having them sign here and hand them the keys. We say, let's have some fun. Let's make guests happy. Let's find new ways to make us happy every day. Let's look at a way to get better every day. That's much more fun than just sitting there and doing the minimum that you can for people. It is really enjoyable, and it is a universal truth that the more you give, the more you receive. And you know what? Our staff is happier in that environment, even though they're working harder, because they feel so proud of what they accomplished. So that's really what you have to focus on. Being a leader is not about saying this is what we're going to do, but by really having people understand how their contribution is valuable and how their creativity is needed to bring the company to greater success.
And a question that I asked Brian earlier, and I'll ask you as a hotelier, who for your company responds to the reviews primarily?
You know what? This is a great question for me because I'm passionate about it. If there's a negative review, it is handled in a collaborative fashion, because even I, sitting in my office quietly by myself responding to a review and putting the review out there does nothing to change the company. The only way I can change the way the individual people at the company, at the hotel, from the reservations manager, the front office people, the hostesses, the housekeepers, the only way that I can really have some, show them a different way of doing things is to bring them a group of people around in a circle, whether it's on the phone or literally, and say, hey, look at these comments. Why do you think why did we get these comments? What exactly happened? Let's research it. Who spoke to these people? Is there anything that we could do better? And let everybody say, I think we should do this. I think we should do this. I think we should do this. And then when we plan how we're going to change our behavior within the hotel, then the letter just writes itself. And the person who should write it is the person with the best writing skills. And but we generally, it could be the general manager, it could be myself, it could be the director of sales and marketing. Any of us can have our name on it, but the response is a collaborative response.
Good.
Because
Good
that
point.
is what influences our future so that it doesn't happen again.
That's right, because it's not just the review for the review's sake. It's
That's right.
You take this feedback, the good and the constructive feedback, and then you do something with it. So if you're doing something wonderful, you keep doing it. And if you do something that needs to be tweaked or changed, then you have, the beauty of it is, you know what it is that people are saying, and so then you can actually turn around and take action.
I, as an individual, cannot deliver great service to anybody because
Right.
I am the VP of the company.
Right.
The whole point is to help the team give the great service. So one thing that we did in the very beginning is that we asked everyone to imagine what kind of reviews do you want to hear? What is the person, envision the type of person you're trying to connect, your ideal guest, and then envision what you would like them to say in the review. And now how are we going to be that kind of hotel? So every employee in the hotel, not every employee, but most of in all departments, we had people write, if I really want to make people happy, I do this for them at the front desk. I say this little thing when I check in, when I check them in. I find if I do this little thing when as a hostess in the club room, that it really lights people up. Everybody's always happy when I do that. So we shared all of those great ideas with each other and just say, let's all do these things. Let's do them every time. And that is how we increased the number of people who were enthusiastically happy about the hotel enough to actually want to write a review. And that's how our reviews increased and the passion behind the reviews increased.
Excellent.
It's also important to know that your story about your hotel is matching your product, so that you get that you're actually attracting the kind of people that you're going to please. For example, at the Library Hotel Collection, at the Library Hotel itself, we have some rooms that are called petite rooms. We have deluxe rooms that have queen beds, and the petite rooms have full-size beds. Not everybody from around the world understands what is a full-size bed or a queen-size bed or a king-size bed. So we found that it wasn't enough just to say what kind of bed it was, not to just to give the measurements in both meters and inches, but we still had confusion. So we actually took pictures of our lovely directors of sales and marketing and front office manager, showing them this is what a queen-size bed is. Now you understand it, because when you use visuals to express, right? It is much more universally understood. So we try to do this with anything that if we hear that there's some sort of a mismatch, some people think, oh, I didn't know breakfast was going to be like this, I thought it was going to be like this, we make sure we have lots of pictures to show exactly what it is going to be, to set the proper expectations when they arrive. That way we don't have complaints after saying that that they were disappointed. When we do, it's usually because it was booked on an OTA and we're somehow not able to persuade the OTA to give as rich a description as we give on our own website. We also engage people with a blog. Every time we hear that there are any issues, any discrepancies in people's expectations versus what they have when they come into the hotel, or if we see that we get a lot of questions about something, then we know this is something that people want to know more about, sometimes more than we're able to express on our website, and so we make a blog post on that, and then we include those answers in our emails to guests, or on Facebook, or in a variety of other ways. So we use the blog whenever we have to get into much more detail than we're able to do on our website. And also on property, in order to get a lot of great enthusiastic reviews, make sure you're always checking people's temperature, as I say, while they're in the hotel. Every time you see them, look them in the eye and say, how's everything for you? Do you have everything you need? Is there anything that could make you feel more comfortable? How was your bed last night, by the way? And this gives people an opportunity to say, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but since you asked, and you can take care of that right there on the spot. And sometimes if somebody has a complaint and says, oh, you know what, I wasn't going to say anything, but my bed was too firm for my personal taste. No problem. In 10 minutes, the housekeepers are going to go up and they're going to put a beautiful feather bed on top of your bed, or a foam mattress topper. Would that work for you? Oh, that would be incredible. And then you have a positive review, not because of what happened just naturally, but because of how you overcame their problem.
And Adele, Ari and a couple of other people have asked this question. How quickly do you respond to the reviews?
You know what? This is really a topic that we have been working on. We would like to address everything within 24 hours, but we have so many reviews, it's very difficult to do it. I can tell you that you should address it the same day if you can, but the thing is, sometimes when somebody has a complaint, there's quite a bit of research that needs to go into finding out exactly what happened, not making an assumption, but really deeply looking into it, and also figuring out the solution. And in a way, we'd like to have a very rich, authentic, detailed answer. That's our personal decision, that we don't just say, we'll take it under an advisement and we'll be sure to be taking action. No, that is great. That may work great for some hotels, but it's just not our style. We like to say, these are the issues that we identified from what you mentioned, and this is what we're going to do to take care of it. And that can take a few days sometimes. But I can tell you this. If somebody makes a review at the Casablanca Hotel, sometimes they'll get an email afterwards and say, oh, 3,500 people have read your review in the last 7 days. Well, that means that must be true for the 2 or 3 star review as well. So that's a lot of people to see your review unaddressed. So every single day that passes by is a lost opportunity. So you should really try to address it as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Good advice.
We positive reviews we respond to privately. There's a way you can. There's a thing that says, ask this reviewer a question, and we just say a sentence or two, thanks so much. It just sounds like chatter when you have thousands and thousands of reviews to say, thanks so much, it was a pleasure having you with us, thanks so much, it was a pleasure having you with us. You know, you just don't want to say that a million times. So we just, yeah.
It's more personal if you do it the other way.
Yeah. Next slide, please.
There you go.
Okay, so what's really important is to show who you really are. On the left-hand side, we have a picture of the Hotel Giraffe, and you can see it has a lovely roof garden, not too edgy, but softly contemporary. And this is the kind of atmosphere you will get at the Hotel Giraffe. While on the right-hand side, we have a very refined, traditional country French style. You know what? You should know who you're marketing to and what your experience is really going to be, because you don't want people to choose your hotel when it's not a right fit for them. If you start describing your hotel as the ultimate experience for you is not the ultimate experience for someone else. So be sure that you're describing what you're really going to deliver, and that way people who are not a right fit for you can self-correct before coming to your hotel and giving you a bad review because it wasn't what they hoped for. there are so many travelers out there in the world that you can find your correct audience if you if you communicate clearly what are your benefits. Next slide.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is a great example at the Aria Hotel in Budapest, which only opened 2 months ago, and we're so proud is already number 4 on TripAdvisor. On the one picture on the left, you can see this is who we are. It's an incredibly artistic hotel with a music atmosphere. And then on the right, you can see a picture of these 2 beautiful guests who are looking out the window. And we love to share with people this picture when they ask us about our city view, because we want them to know, hey, you know what? If you're looking for a river view, that's not what you're going to find with us. So rather than coming to the hotel and complaining that we don't have a river view, or that they thought the city view was going to be some big expanse of overlooking the whole city from a high tower, no, we're just a little house with 6 or 7 floors, and it has a charming neighborhood view and the most beautiful interior design imaginable. This will ensure, by communicating through visuals, it will ensure that we attract the right kind of traveler to our hotel. And thereby we have a, I'm sorry?
Finish? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yes, that's good. So if you have a negative review, as I think I said this before actually, really dig down deep for the bottom of your heart to look for a way to solve the problem. And if you can't solve the problem, like this one, which was saying, it was it had more noise than I expected. Some of our guests come from the country, and they're not used to the big city experience, but we didn't want our staff to be without the tools to deal with it. So we make sure that if somebody says, you know what, I'm having trouble sleeping because it's kind of noisy, they have special headphones that will cover their. It's like a headband, a soft felt headband with a little music that plays inside, that a rhythm that was created by a doctor to help you fall asleep faster. And we have all kinds of other little tools like earplugs and various things that they can choose from that the staff can give to the guests to try to make them more comfortable, or of course move them to a different room to see if that's better. But we're constantly chipping away at this issue. Yeah, and people appreciate that we're doing our best.
Absolutely. A lot of people have been asking questions throughout our discussion today about negative reviews, but also about fake reviews. Can you identify a fake review, and what do you do about it?
You know what? I had one. I had one just recently. That's by the way, that's a picture of John Tabuada, the general manager at the Casablanca Hotel, just putting in a new air conditioning unit in one of our rooms. And that picture, by the way, just got us so many likes and so much positive comments. I just put it there because I want you to know that not everything that you show in a picture has to be the fanciest thing. It just has to tell who you really are. And that's how you get the kind of guests that you really are designed for. But I want to answer that question. Sorry, remind me, what was it again?
Fake reviews.
Fake reviews. Yeah, it happened to me. It happened to me this month. There was someone who in the beginning of May signed up for TripAdvisor for the first time and immediately went out and wrote about 10 reviews. And they were absolute. First, she actually said, oh, someone, when I was in New York City, my daughter and my daughters and I went down to get a snack when my husband was sleeping in the room, and we were robbed or whatever, or somebody asked us for, or some drunk guy came up to us and asked us for all our money, and we ran away. This had nothing, this may have happened somewhere in New York City, but certainly not anywhere near our hotel, and not anywhere with, not somebody with that name, somebody from that country, whatever. It was absolutely positively not something that could ever happen in our little hotel. We know everything that happens in our little hotel, and we have cameras in all our public spaces. There's no way that we wouldn't know about this, because we talk every single day. And they had a lot of other fake reviews that were up as well, and you know what? It took me 3 or 4 times of asking the review to be taken down before it was taken down. It took 10 days to take it down. To me, that's a long time, but Brian will probably tell you that's an amazingly short time. But anyway, we were very grateful that finally, we just kept saying, look, this is all our evidence for how we know this is a fake review, and how we know the other reviews that they, like, for example, they also wrote a review for a place in Qatar saying how great the beer was. Well, they don't serve beer in Qatar, so because they have they have the Sharia law or something there. So,
right.
So we knew it was fake, and it was taken down, but we didn't take no for an answer the first time. We kept writing to the content integrity team, giving the details. We even wrote to the legal office of TripAdvisor, giving all the details of why we know this to be a fake review. And in 10 days, it got taken down. So you can do it too. Don't take no for an answer. You have to be an advocate for your hotels.
That's right.
But you also have to provide some evidence for why you believe that.
Mm-hmm. And
so,
yeah.
Okay.
Do you want
to... So in closing, I just want to say that the reason social media is so powerful is it's because what other people are saying about you, it's so much more persuasive than anything you can say about yourself. So we choose not to spend money on advertising, but rather to spend money invested in the guest experience, so that we have not us saying good things about ourselves, but thousands, maybe millions of people saying wonderful things about us. And whatever star level you are, you can always deliver an outstanding guest experience with kindness, courtesy, respect, cleanliness. Aim for greatness and expect nothing less from your team. If they don't know how to do the right thing, show them. That's your responsibility as a manager. And great reviews are free, but they do require a tremendous investment in time, in planning, in training, and motivating. And you have to be on it every single day. It has to be your central focus. Anybody in our hotels, you can ask anyone who works with us, from the IT person to the accounting person, what's our number one priority? And they'll all say the number one priority is the guest experience, and that is how we have been so fortunate to get so many rave reviews. And I can tell you it's a very effective marketing strategy.
It absolutely, Adele. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Again, had tons of questions that have been coming in. Apologies to those whose questions we haven't been able to get to, but we will be following up with a blog post that will identify some of the most and answer some of the most popular questions. The library collection is a living example of how hardworking, smart hotel marketers can really turn a great experience into a terrific review. And as Adele was talking about, really the only surprises people like are good ones, right? So if you want to make a positive impression, it's really good to start by telling people up front what to expect. And good reviews are way more valuable than a lot of paid advertising. As we heard up front, people are generally more trusting of friends and strangers over some brands these days. So if you can rev up your reviews and get that working for you, you can start using it in really smart ways in your marketing efforts. So I'm going to launch our last poll, and it's really, we want to understand what you thought about this content today. And so the question is, based on today's content, would you attend a future webinar? And I'm going to talk about next month's webinar, which is super exciting, in a second. So if you could just weigh in and let us know for sure you'll attend another one, you're on the fence, you don't know, or nah, not likely. So I'll wait till the majority of you have weighed in, and then we'll go from there. There's, this is such a hot topic, and there were so many great questions that came in today. So I'm looking forward to the follow-up blog post. So I'm going to close the poll now. Thank you. The majority of you are going to join us on another webinar, so we're excited about that. If you share some of the digital marketing challenges that we discussed today, you can really benefit from Visly, which is our new multi-channel digital marketing system. Visly helps you engage travel shoppers by creating relevant and powerful stories about your hotel, which increases the time shoppers spend researching your hotel online, which in turn translates into conversions. And once we have these stories created, we make sure they reach the millions of travel shoppers consistently by publishing them everywhere they find you online. So that's your own website, mobile websites, social media sites, and digital brochures on travel websites. And it really helps you communicate the value you're providing so that you just don't sell on price. And in particular, and relative to today's topic, our visual solution makes it super easy to integrate your TripAdvisor reviews right into your own website. And the guest reviews that are posted on TripAdvisor are actually automatically populated in the Reviews tab of your Visly website to provide insights into your property without using additional or third-party applications, and it really minimizes the effort on managing those reviews and getting them up on your website, which, as we heard today, is super important. As I alluded to before, next month's webinar is going to talk about why visual is the new verbal, and we're really excited to have Terry Jones as our featured speaker. Terry, for those of you who don't know him, is the founder of Travelocity. He's the founding chairman of Kayak, and he is the founder of Wayblazer, and this is really interesting. It's a joint venture with IBM that is going to change how consumers shop for travel, and Terry's going to be talking about that with us next month. So stay tuned for an email with an invitation to that webinar. And as I said at the top of the hour, we've recorded this session, so we're going to send you a thank you for joining us email with a link to that recording that you can share with your colleagues or listen to again, and we'll also syndicate today's presentation in SlideShare and in subsequent blog posts. So thank you, Brian Payea from TripAdvisor. Great information shared with us today. We have lots of questions for you, Brian, that we'll shoot to you under separate cover, and because there were a lot of what I will categorize as functional questions associated with reviews. So we'll shoot them your way so that you have those.
Great. Thanks very much.
And Adele Gutman, as always, a pleasure to have you. I know the audience always loves hearing from a hotelier in particular because it makes it real and gives them some really great practical advice that they can put into action. So thanks, Adele, for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you to everybody for hanging in. This is a Thursday, which is actually the new Friday. So for those of you, well, I guess some of us have already had a short week, and perhaps if you start your weekend today, you'll even make the week that much shorter. So thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.